Hello, and welcome to another episode of Creative Herd Studios. So yesterday, October 10th, was World Mental Health Day. And although we don't have school on October 10th because it's Columbus Day and you guys are off that day, but I am not off that day. So here I am making a video. I wanted us to stop for a minute. It's a good time for us to stop. We're between projects, and I wanted us to take a look at how art can kind of help you with your mental health stuff. And although we won't do a lot of art therapy in class for assignment purposes, it is something that you can definitely incorporate, especially when you get up to that Art 2, 3, 4 level. You could definitely incorporate art therapy into your own studio type stuff that you want to do. But I thought it'd be fun even at the Art 1 level to go through and just take a look at some ways that we can incorporate that therapeutic side of art to help us out. So we're going to look at something that I discovered. I was actually watching a student do some artwork, and I happened to come across some stuff on, I don't remember if it was YouTube or some other social media, and it looked really cool, and it's called Neurographic Art. And so we're going to take a look at that. Here are some examples of neurographic art. I found these examples on neurographic.art. It's an excellent website, so I'm going to share information straight from that website, and I will have the link in the description. So Neurographica is a cathartic meeting with your unconscious that unfolds through drawing. The method was invented in Russia in 2015 and has grown rapidly around the world. Creating your drawing is a beautiful meditative process based in mindfulness. It bypasses the rational thinking mind and able to reach deep into the hidden layers of one's psyche. Your unconscious, ordinarily inaccessible, is opened up. New neural networks are formed in the brain. What you thought is impossible suddenly becomes a reality. The results can range from immediate insights and revelations to changes in your life that take place in the most unusual and creative of ways. Since you're working with the unconscious, you may surprise yourself days later with a solution that comes seemingly out of nowhere. Neurographics is a way of drawing that recreates the outer from the inner. The world is a reflection of the beliefs we hold. Beliefs are arbitrary limits on what is possible, and therefore frame the limited way in which the world is experienced. Neurography was discovered and developed by Pavel Piskarev, a Russian psychologist and creativity entrepreneur. From the first rounding of intersections and sharp angles, there is a sense of recreating that wholeness, of softening the edges of the harsh thoughts and merging with our better intentions and greater knowing. Being whole, seeing whole, letting go of fear, opening to unlimited possibility and perspective. The hand and brain are connected and in tandem, or we would not be able to pick up or touch what is in front of us. Neurographics uses that connection to loosen and redirect the habitual thought patterns that create fear and confusion. Neuroplasticity, as a regenerative organic capacity, meets a new way of thinking and being, a new line, a new neural pathway. These final three examples you're looking at shows you how you can take something like neurographic art and embed it into a more stylized, figurative type of art where it stays abstract, but it still carries on subject matter in there. It's not just completely abstracted. You can see trees, you can see fish, you can see butterflies, but you're definitely incorporating that neurographic art style into it, and it can still be very therapeutic for you guys to use. For this project, we're going to start with a Sharpie marker on just a simple piece of paper. What you're going to do for these neurographic lines is you're just going to kind of let the line happen. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but just kind of don't think too much about what you're doing. Let your hand just sort of rotate and make different decisions. One way that I heard it was whatever way that you're thinking about going, shift and go the other direction, and just let it be as random as you can make it out to be. This should be kind of a slow process. You're going to start on one edge of the paper and take it all the way across until you get to another edge. You can go all the way across from one side to the other, or you can hit it up from one corner to an adjacent side, meaning a neighbor side. Now I'm going to speed this up a little bit so you can see me do this several times over. Another fun thing to do is to create some shapes on top of this. So for this one, I'm using circular shapes. You can trace circles, you can use a compass, you can even freehand some, which is what I do a little bit later. But it just adds a different level of interest besides just having the lines intersecting one another. So now we get to do the fun part, the more meditative part, the therapeutic part. Anywhere you see your lines intersect, we're going to soften up those intersections, and we're going to come in with our marker and we're going to smooth those corners out and make them rounded off edges. And we're going to do this to every intersection across the paper. And I'm not sure that this is exactly where the name comes from, but I really find it interesting that when we do this to all of our intersections, it gives it almost like the same look that you would have in the neurons in your brain. Once we're done drawing, we're going to color our neurographic art. I'm using watercolor pencils. These are Sargent Art watercolor pencils. And I'm going to use kind of an analogous color scheme within each shape. So sort of like we did with shattered values, I am coming in and I'm color blending from one color to the next. And I'm picking colors that blend well together, so that's why I say analogous colors. We've learned that if we mix our complementary colors, you're going to muddy up the color a little bit. You're going to take away that saturation. And that may be something you want to do, but that's not something I want to do for this. So you're going to watch as I add different colors that work well together in these shapes. You want to make sure when you are blending one color to another that you have a little bit of overlap in between. So it's similar to shattered values or when we did the flowers. You're going to go from dark to light and light to dark. All right, now here comes the really cool part. We're using watercolor pencils, which means we can come back over this with a layer of water and create a watercolor wash with it. It's my favorite way to use watercolor, other than watercolor pens, which is kind of a new thing of mine that I'm doing. But it's a little bit more controlled than using just the palette of watercolors. So it's kind of a nice little way to use a different media than what you might be used to. What I'm doing now is I'm going through and adding some neurographic lines kind of to the outside. I really like the way that looked in some of the examples that we saw, and I felt like my piece just needed a little bit more. I'm also going in and adding some different designs and patterns inside some of the shapes. Not all of them, but some of them. Things like stripes, polka dots, spiraling lines, just different kinds of things that are mindless type of patterns that I can use. The repetitive motions of these patterns can be very meditative as well. It's sort of like Zen tangles, if you've ever looked at those, and that's what I have running through my mind as I'm going through and adding different designs to some of these shapes. The idea behind this is you're able to be calm and be relaxed and just repeating different elements and being able to sort of meditate your way through all of it. So I want you to think about how you can add some of these types of elements to your own drawing and come up with something that's creative, fun to look at, and more importantly, just easing to the mind to go through and draw, because after all, that's what we're doing this for. Just remember, the purpose of this artwork is to be calm and to relax. And the idea is that if you're having a stressful day, or if your mind is not in the right place and you need something to get your mind back in a more meditative, calming, soothing place, to do an artwork like this, it really can make a difference. It really is the kind of thing that can bring peace to you. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy making your own neurographic art.